Hello, Jay.
Hey
Hey,
guys.
Jay. How you doing?
All right. How are you guys doing?
Fine. I'm
Awesome.
Brian Kelly, and this is Daryl Bean.
All right. Glad to meet you guys.
Good to meet you. Well, Jay, let's get it going. I'll introduce you. So, folks, this is Jay Saunders. You've probably heard him on the radio or in orchestras. He's played for the Fort Worth Dallas Symphony Orchestra, the 1 O'Clock Lab Band back in the late 60s, where he got his 2 degrees and then went on to teach at other colleges in the Stan Kenton Band and the Field Army Band. He's played everywhere. And he knew Phil Gelly back in the day. So,
Yes.
Jay, the first thing we got to ask you is, how did you get to meet Phil?
Well, the first time I worked with Phil was actually for a Doc Severinsen job in Oklahoma City. George Cherb, hired the whole band, and we went up there and played for Doc. And Phil was playing drums at the time. And that was the first time I worked with Phil. And it was a gas because I've always been kind of picky about drummers. I got spoiled by Ed Soph, when I was in the 1 O'Clock band.
Oh, yeah.
I was in the Army band with Steve Gadd, so, I was going
Oh,
like,
wow.
holy smokes, this is great. But Phil was just exciting, as a drummer. And he laid it down so easily that you didn't even have to read the music almost, you just read the music for what note you were supposed to play because you knew damn well when to come in. And that was the first time I worked physically with Phil. So anyway, I don't know what the next question is what? I mean, or
Well,
you
well,
just go
well,
on.
let's just stay with this. When that was in the late 60s, before you were in the 1 o'clock or afterwards?
No, no, no. It was after I was in the 1 o'clock, and then after the 1 o'clock, I got into the Army. The band that is now the Jazz Ambassadors. It was called the U.S. Army Studio Band, and it was the Army's jazz band. And like I said, we had a bunch of great players because everybody was not wanting to go to Vietnam. So all these great players were signing up specifically for a band like that. Let's do that rather than go to Canada or the
Yeah.
Netherlands or whatever. So anyway, had a great time doing that. And one of the other drummers in the band, John Gatchell, no, that's not it. John Gates, came back to Dallas and he knew Phil from stuff and he played a tape of one of our, gigs. And Phil said, well, we got to get that trumpet player on some of the stuff we're doing. So that kind of opened the door for me doing that, as well.
Wow. Okay.
So
And so
anyway,
he would do the arrangements for the 2 o'clock then, and y'all started conversing for that.
well, yeah, that happened later. I mean, for me, you know what I mean? We all knew that Phil wrote for Doc, and of course, that Sweet Georgia Upside Down, one of his most famous charts, he
Yeah.
wrote for that band. So we had that in the 1 o'clock. But at the time, I don't remember us having any other Phil Kelly charts in the book at that time,
Yeah.
right off the bat, because I don't think Phil was worried about he was so busy doing commercials and stuff, he could
Yeah.
care about selling charts to bands. I mean, that wasn't going to pay anything like the work that he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So anyway, to get back to it, luckily in those days, all of the sessions and everything were all big bands. So there were four trumpets and everything. There were some hellacious, gorgeous, ridiculous trumpet players in Dallas at that time. Don Thomas and George Cherb and John Anderson, who played just like Clifford Brown, for Christ's sake,
Oh, yeah.
and Don Jacoby and a number of other guys. So luckily, and everybody was recording all the time. I mean, it was when I was working down at the Fairmont every night and living in Denton, I was recording just about 8 hours a day, in Dallas as well, but all because everybody used four trumpets. And so everybody else, the other guys that weren't on this session were on another session someplace. It
Oh,
was,
busy.
yeah, it was busier than hell. I thought, my goodness,
So
this is cool.
you were in
Well,
the
I
studio
dreamed
with,
about going to LA. I couldn't be any busier than I am here. And scale is scale, except for some guys were getting double scale, I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I got to work a whole bunch of sessions, for Phil at that time. And as the other guys kind of grew older and retired and stuff like that, then I kind of moved up to where I was doing a lot of the lead work with Phil and a lot of just like one trumpet stuff because Phil really liked my interpretation, and that's
Yeah.
kind of hard to describe if you're not a musician, but you could write the same number of notes and you can realize it can be played wonderfully by great musicians, but it's how everybody plays it that makes it come off. And so
Yeah.
I had really studied Pete Condoli, who I really loved the way he bent notes and really interpreted everything. And so Phil at one time wrote uh, it was a score for some huge film, and there wasn't much brass in it at all. And one time I drove down to this session and I'm looking all around. There's nobody else in the waiting room. And I'm going like, God, did I have the wrong day? Or, why am I the only guy here? And so then finally somebody came out and Phil came out and says, all right, come on in here. So I went in there and it was just one flugelhorn part for like 2 bars.
Wow.
But it was something like one of those things, right? And I bent all the notes like Pete Condoli would, and Phil was knocked out. And he
Yeah.
do that again. He just wanted to hear it again. It's going to be on tape for Christ's sake. You can play it back all the times you want to. He had a lot of fun telling the client, okay, now we're going to, just a minute now. He said, Jay, bend that note a little bit more, and I'm going like, I couldn't bend it anymore. It'd go down to the next note for Christ's sake. But anyway, I got what was happening because you got to sell those guys, the ones back there in the suits.
Yeah.
So I just played it basically the same way, and he says, "That's it, that's perfect."
So
So anyway, it
when he,
was a kick.
when he
But we're
wrote,
on the subject of the suits in the back row, of sessions. One time, and it was early on when there was always at least 2 trumpets on most gigs. We played this chart that he wrote. It was a 60-second thing for somebody, and it was rock, but it was Phil Kelly rock.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're out there, we're having a ball playing this thing, and we get through, and we're all listening back to it, and we're dancing and everything. Going, man, this is great. This will be fun to listen to because it was always fun to listen to something you recorded on the radio. Even though everybody was mixed down, so the vocalist could have it. So anyway, naturally, that's what they would record the ad for.
Yeah.
You know, this is this is WFAA.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's in there and he's talking to the guys, and we're going like, man, this is a great cut. And he came out, and he had Tommy. Oh gosh, who was an engineer? Phil used him all the time. Started with a C. It's not Cassetta, but there's somebody like that. Maybe you guys know. To just turn off the mics in the studio. And he went out there, and in typical Phil Kelly language, these say this thing is too busy. So we gotta cut some shit out of it. And we're going like, oh man. So we're circling this, which means leave it out, and circling that, and circling this. And we're going, oh man, but we go back there and we record it exactly the way that he wanted it. And they're in there talking. And he comes back out and he says, this just still think it's too much, and we're going like, oh man, we're cutting more of it. And I swear to God, we ended up with just that and then sitting there, that at the end, that was it. We did the whole rest of it was gone, and we were going like,
Oh,
man, what a shame, But those guys were paying for it, so whatever they want is what came out.
yeah.
I'll never
That's
forget
funny.
that as long as I live. It was just, oh man, that's criminal. It's like telling John Williams, no, we don't want that. We don't want this. That's ridiculous. It's too much.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, we all revered working for Phil. It
Yeah.
was a blast. It was a complete blast.
so you played with him.
Yeah.
He was also writing for the Fort Worth Symphony and the Dallas Pops. You were
Yeah.
playing in that stuff too. So how much was he cranking out for those 2 orchestras?
Oh man. Enough. I'll tell you that. I don't. I think obviously when you do something that's like a chart length, for a whole orchestra and before computers and stuff, it took
Yes.
a long time. Excuse me. And so I can't imagine, I really can't. I mean, some of the Christmas stuff he did for the Fort Worth Symphony was just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
There's one thing about everything that he wrote orchestrally, and I'm sure he would like me saying this. It was kind of like Dave Grusin. I mean, it was just unbelievable. It was so gorgeous, and it was so alternate chords and everything. It wasn't what you were expecting. And every time something else would happen, you go like, "Oh God," holy, I mean, just wanted to go, "Wow," and this even the strings would go like, "Woo," and send
Yeah.
chills
Yeah.
down your spine. I mean, the chord changes, they were just wonderful.
Yeah.
So in a way, I mean, I'm glad we had him, but I feel sorry that LA couldn't have had him for some movies, and all that kind of stuff because he was as good as any of them. Any of them.
I was
Yeah.
working on the Wishbone episodes that he did the cues for.
Yeah,
And those things are cinematic. I mean, what they do to that show, it just enhances it
exactly.
10
Yeah,
times.
I agree.
So he had a command of the musical language. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yes,
He knew his
unbelievable
stuff.
command. And especially since drummer, he was a drummer, really.
Yeah.
Most guys don't know an F from a C, they
Mhm.
just know the rhythmic, signatures. But and I'm joking. I don't know what Phil's history was before that. Obviously, piano of some sort. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Certainly, working piano.
we hope to find out. We want to contact his old schools and
Oh
see if we
yeah,
can find
that'd
out.
be great.
We have a lot of research to do. And it's going to take time, but everything we're learning so much now. Talking with you, it's been enlightening. So the first time, do you know how Phil started hanging out at North Texas? When did he start showing up there, and who got him there?
Yeah, well, I think all of the guys got him there. You know what I mean? I don't think he ever asked to go up there. But once everybody started playing his charts up there, which was really after the jingle thing and all of that stuff was over, unfortunately. Um, Jim Riggs and I, with the 2 o'clock band in particular, because we had played gigs, where Phil Kelly wrote all the stuff or whatever, started playing whatever charts he had, uh, that we started doing a whole bunch of his stuff, you know. And one of his charts, he had written a couple, but you guys probably know him, and he wrote for this band up in Seattle.
Yes.
And he also went down and recorded an album with the LA guys.
Yeah.
And, he always would send me the album, man, and I loved it, and I would send him copies of everything that we had done of his,
We've seen them.
whether we recorded, whether we released it or not. But anyway, the LA guys, Wayne Bergeron was the lead trumpet player and probably the most renowned in LA right now. Went up to Phil and said, we don't have time to do this chart. And so, they were kind of, the LA guys kind of saying, let's do this chart now. And then we'll do this chart. Phil said, no, it's fine with me. And they put that chart off to the end because it was a mean son of a bitch. I mean, it was harder than hell. And so it was like, well, Phil, I don't think we have enough time. This is Wayne talking. Let's do this one the next time. So Phil sent it to me when I had the 2 o'clock, and we worked it up, and it was a harder son of a bitch.
Is
And
that
I told Phil, I said, I know why Wayne didn't want to do this.
12/8 the whole
Yes.
12/8 the
Yeah.
whole thing?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bitch. So
It
we
is
were,
We love that.
Yeah.
One of
and
my favorites.
Phil was just gassed out of his mind. When I had the 2 o'clock band, we did the chart that he wrote for the two tenor players, Pete
Top,
Chrisley.
Top Fuel Pete
Yeah, yeah,
and the Travinsky.
yeah. Right, exactly. That's it. I'm 81, man. I can't remember.
It's okay.
For Christ's sake. So anyway, we recorded it, and as the band got better and better, and by the time we recorded it, we were going at light speed, a lot faster than what. To this day, I'm sorry we didn't put a chorus of piano on the front. You know what I mean? Because just start at letter A, which is what Phil did, even with his own band when he recorded it, with Pete as a guest. Up
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Well, maybe someday we could make that happen someday.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, after we recorded it, which was too fast, but it's kind of a North Texas tradition. Whatever the chart is, unless it's a ballad, we're going to push it and push it and push it and push it. Till it's just almost blew up, and it's done.
Yeah.
But anyway, when we got it done, I sent it to Phil, and Phil was just gassed. He says, I played this thing 20 times. I just love it the way you guys did it, and all this stuff. And we did it with two altos instead of the two tenors because they needed some space. So anyway, when he played it for Pete, Pete said it's too fast. We can't do it. So it was kind of fun,
That's funny.
So
Yeah.
all the charts that North Texas has done, I mean, there's a few. And on your CDs, I think we heard Blulonius.
I always had one on there on almost all of my 2 o'clock albums. Yeah. But the weird thing is like, with Lou Fisher's rehearsal band, which had all the best guys in Dallas, we played a lot of Phil Kelly charts. And
Ah,
you're mentioning there, I don't remember us having even in that band. And Phil made sure we had everything. But
excellent.
anyway, that all came later, I guess. That might
Yeah.
be a band in Washington.
Yeah, it might be LA or the Northwest Prevailing Winds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or there was this other uh, college that was close by to where he was living.
Oh, Western Bellingham. Yeah.
Yeah, he was knocked out with them too. So he sent them a lot of stuff.
Wow. Huh.
So I don't know. I don't have the answer for that.
Oh, that's
But
interesting.
if he would have sent it to us, we would have played it. I promise you.
Jay, were you up in Seattle with Phil too, or is that somebody else? What we're thinking of?
No, I went up there for one gig. His regular lead drum player, who was an ex-student of mine at North Texas, was playing a Broadway show, and you had to be there for like 2 weeks solid. But anyway, he also he had a convertible, and this is early on my knowing Phil. And we'd done this session, and we went outside, and the top was down, and it was even though this was an older car, it had bucket seats, which were kind of unusual in those days. In the front seat, and then a regular straight ahead seat in the back. And Phil, every time we saw it, the top was down. Could be 17 degrees out there. It could be 190 degrees out there. Didn't make a difference. The top was always down. So we were out there just kind of chit chatting, going like, "Hey man, what's up?" Blah blah blah. And we looked down, and on the driver's seat, which is where Phil was, it was all the way back, and on the side of the seat was a cliff mushroom, one of those jobs that's flat on the top and goes out all the way to the door would be, and then goes all the way down to the bottom. And we were laughing so hard. We said, this is perfect. I mean, I don't think Phil ever noticed it. He just got in the car, bless his heart. I don't think he ever saw it. It was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. I thought you could put a big ashtray on top of that.
That is so funny.
It was that big.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, okay, that's enough. Enough of that stuff.
Oh, it's okay. Just a couple more things about the music of North Texas.
Sure.
Well, you said you try to put one of his charts on each one of your CDs. I mean, did he ever make a personal appearance while you were recording or rehearsing?
No, not really. Not really. I was kind of surprised he was always welcome, to come up. I would send him like you nowadays you can just send a file, or send it, an MP3 thing across the thing and say, like, how's this going? He says, great, wonderful. Thank you so much, la-di-doo-dah. But I think he knew that I knew enough about his stuff, his way of writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Dave Zoller was kind of the same way. They
So
didn't really say, well, it's a little bit to this, a little bit to that. It's just like, thank you. It's great. That's exactly what I had in mind,
I was wondering, he worked with you on a regular basis. So do you think he ever might have written something with your strengths in mind, knowing
Oh,
you might?
man, for like, I think when you're writing commercial music, you're not thinking about that kind of thing. When
Yeah.
you write a chart, if he's writing a chart for Doc, then he gives Doc space, and give Pete Chrisley space and all that stuff for the band. But I think when you're writing something for a company, I don't know that you necessarily, I'm not saying he never did that. He may have done that with Randy Lee, the alto player, or somebody else. But man, not for me, you know.
Yeah. Well, I could
I
see he's
never
got,
pretended to be God's gift to trumpet, I'll tell you that.
you like you like the way he writes for the lead trumpet. I mean, he does he challenge your range?
Once again, with commercial music, no, not so much. I think that one chart that I talked about that he did for the Southwest winds or whatever, whatever it was, that Wayne Bergeron said, let's not do that. I mean, it went up to double A's, which was challenging, my students were able to, I don't know, in a studio situation, I would leave that out and then I'd go back and record it by myself with him to make sure it was done right after everybody left, to make sure that it would come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because most guys weren't writing double A's back in those days, but now it's all part of the literature. I
yeah,
think Gordon Goodwin has never written a chart where he doesn't have a double something. But
yeah.
once again, he's not writing for the guys in suits who are going like, no,
So do
it's
you
not
Yeah.
what we really want.
did you play on Doc Severinsen's Night Journey?
Yes.
So he wrote Spanish Dreams for that album. Do you remember Spanish Dreams?
Yeah. Well, I remember the one thing that he wrote, Fred Crane wrote most of it. And Phil came in and did that last chart. And it was great. It was wonderful. I mean, it
Yeah.
was, the thing that amazed me about that is Doc had this cadenza at the first part, right? Is that the one you're
Yes.
talking? He has
Yes.
this
Yeah,
cadenza.
yeah.
And so uh and then the rest of the chart was also challenging for Doc. It wasn't just that, but Doc would play this cadenza, which it seemed like 5 minutes, but it's probably three and a half, four, whatever. And he would get to the end where we're about ready to come in and go like, oh, I want to do it again. Just keep rolling. And he'd do another one, that went all over the horn. And then he'd say, keep rolling. I want to do it again. Guys, be ready when, this is good. We'll just go ahead. And then he did a third one and did the same thing. And then I did a fourth one. And then we played the chart, which was already challenging for Doc. And I was going like, holy crap. I mean, that just amazed me. My appreciation of Doc, which was always high, went to the roof. I said, I can't believe that, holy.
Wow.
But that was it. That was a great chart. I remember.
Man.
Several
And we did that,
versions.
that was an extra. It was an extra day because we did all of Fred's things on a Saturday, and then there was no recording. And then we came back and did that on a Monday morning or something like that. When Phil,
Wow.
I guess probably because Phil couldn't be there for the others, or maybe he just wanted to wait until all those other things were done. You know what I mean? Which makes sense too.
From what we know, it sounds like he was a workaholic and a perfectionist,
Oh, he was.
super efficient.
Yep.
Yeah,
He
but
was he was great, without being offensive. I mean, he knew all of us. So, he wasn't gonna say, what the shit are you guys doing, because he liked all the way we were doing stuff. And I learned from Don Thomas exactly, how to do this, that, and the other. And so I was ready for that. And he always had that same engineer, so he didn't have to worry about that. But he wanted it exactly this way, period.
yeah, he had a set tempo and he
Yep,
drove.
everything.
Yeah, wow.
But
Yeah,
when you want the big band charts, like what I was talking about, if you want to take it faster, go ahead, or whatever. As long as it's my chart and it's the way I wrote it.
um,
But I can tell you without a doubt, all of us loved working with Phil. I mean,
yeah,
it was almost like I couldn't believe we're getting paid for it. You know what I mean? It was always entertaining and absolutely a gas. It'd be like you couldn't wish for a better recording session than working with Phil Kelly.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Well,
always good to hear.
Yeah, I'm sure the guys feel in LA feel the same way about Dave Grusin or John Williams. I mean, with that same kind of adoration. For sure. Because we all work for a whole bunch of guys that weren't half as talented. And
yes,
hey,
absolutely.
you can't have everything.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, yeah, yeah. What do you think, Brian? I mean, is it in the can?
I can't think of anything else. Maybe just if you talk to anybody like Randy Lee or Jim or anybody, just tell them what we're doing, and all we're doing is just this right
Yeah,
here.
sure. Yeah, I will do it.
We'll take all
I
comers.
would think like
Yeah.
Randy Lee for sure. And
We're trying to get Tom Malone.
yeah,
And
We're in
Jimmy,
contact with them, but we need help from the Underground Railroad, I guess you'd say.
yeah. Well, sure, Lou Marini.
or Pete
Yeah.
Brewer,
Luke would
Jay,
be a big one because he's
Yeah,
from the old days with Dad up in
yeah,
Ohio.
same thing. And
Yeah.
Jay
Malone,
Thomas.
also John Osborne,
Yeah.
who would know Phil a lot better than Tom would.
Yeah.
And trying to think of the other guys that are still around. How about the young duck and the trumpet?
How about Pete? Pete's still around, right? Pete
Brewer?
Criswell?
Pete Brewer,
Oh yeah, Pete Chrisley. Yeah, absolutely. He's up in
That would
Portland.
be another one too.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's Top Fuel Pete.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
What about
Yeah, I know the story behind that.
Yeah,
do you
I'm sure he
remember
would have a whole bunch of great nuggets, because he knew Phil real well too.
Yeah. And he was up there in Washington, I believe.
Yeah, right. Oh man. But if I think of some other guys, I mean, like I said, I'm 81, so the other guys are well, Lou's younger and Malone's younger, but and they did a lot of stuff after I got in the army, and of course then I wasn't here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went out with Kenton for over a year.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on while I was gone for sure.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it would be
Unbelievable.
a
Yeah.
good window into that.
Oh, I wanted to let you know, Jay, we are going to go to the Jazz Museum in Sherman Thursday
Oh yeah, great.
and visit with Bill. Is there anything you want me to get for you there, a souvenir, or have you been there?
Well, he's got one of my horns. I went up there to check
Ah,
out everything he's got, and
Oh, wow.
we'll
it's
ask to
amazing. You
we'll
guys are
ask
gonna
to
love
see
it.
it.
Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it. It's amazing. I
He's
can't
al
believe everything he's done.
he's already been very helpful for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Quite a bit of help. Well,
That's great. Well,
well,
he doesn't do this, so he remembers a lot more than I do.
uh,
We used to kid him, go like if ever he made a mistake, it would go like, "What'd you do? Have your one beer this year?" Oh. So anyway, no, he's a great guy. Yes,
awesome,
and
awesome.
you guys will enjoy it. You'll enjoy that
Yes,
museum.
sir. We'll
Yeah.
follow. Well, we'll
Well,
follow
it's a
up.
journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope
Well,
you'll.
I'll tell Jim about that, and I'll tell Ox about that, John Osborne, and
Yeah.
I'll even call Randy if have you guys been in touch with him at all?
No, no, that's one of them that's there's black holes out there, but we're
Yeah, sure.
edging along.
Maybe
Well,
join.
another one, pianist Pat Coyle. He's a
That's one that yeah. I
yeah,
remember Jacoby and Pat Coyle were people that my dad mentioned all the time. He
yeah.
definitely was he had a penchant for piano players as much as he did for trumpet and
Mhm.
other horns. So it's amazing.
Yep, absolutely. And Pat would do a lot of stuff that he wouldn't like the way whoever was doing it in Seattle did it. So he'd come down and Pat would re-record the piano.
Yeah. Yeah.
That happened a couple of times.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't tell the
Yeah.
guys in Seattle. But anyway, I know it. Yeah. Oh my
Well,
God.
we appreciate it, Jay. We think if there's any other names that you can think of along the way, just kind of send an email our way, and we'll keep digging and looking for what we can find.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the other guys have got some great stories too.
Yes, we'll
All
do
right.
one. Yeah.
Also about, Phil's contractor, Ernie Chapman, who we all loved.
Ernie was a good. I talked to Ernie before he passed. He was
Good.
very very helpful with me.
That's great. Ernie was well, he was just hysterical. I think like he's got to contract a whole orchestra for Pete's sake. And every time he'd call us up, he'd talk for like a half hour. What
Yeah.
are you free Monday, from 12 to 6? Oh yeah, absolutely, Well,
No,
blah, 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 blah. And you go like, gee, Christmas.
he was great to talk to.
Yeah, he really is, man. He's a wonderful character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all your help and anything else you can think of, just let us know. And thanks again for doing this. This is a big
Oh,
help.
you can? Yeah. Well, I'm anxious to see what you guys come up with.
Yes, thank you. Yep.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Jay. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Later. All
Thanks,
right.
Jay.
Bye bye.